big Bucs fans. Leroy's impact on our community has been extraordinary. While I never had the opportunity of meeting Leroy, I was able to experience his legacy as a student athlete at the University of South Florida. I had the opportunity to be a part of a program that started because of Leroy's vision and forever changed my life. The Selmon Mentoring Institute gave me the opportunity of a lifetime in so many ways. The Institute really focused on me and all of our student athletes as people and formed us to be the people that we are today. We learned so much about ourselves through personal assessments, learning our strengths and our weaknesses, and even our personality traits. Through all of this, and with Leroy's vision of this program, and everything that I learned in the Institute, I realized that my true passions were there, and the avenues that I could take were so vast and large, and I could continue to go along this path and pursue my dreams. Leroy's legacy and compassion will forever live in the hearts of USF student athletes. It has truly been one of my greatest honors to be a part of the inaugural class of the Selmon Mentoring Institute, and I am forever grateful. As a matter of fact, I have a picture of Leroy that stands in my office. I now work within USF Athletics. And every day I look at that picture and think to myself, how can I carry on his legacy? Everyone that I speak to about Leroy always says the same things about his infectious personality, but most importantly, his perspective on life, and that every day was a great day, no matter what. Every time Leroy would walk into a room, he would radiate brightness. He was just such an amazing man. Just think, if everyone were a little more like Leroy, how amazing this world would be. This statue will serve as a wonderful reminder of Leroy's legacy and all that he has done for the Tampa Bay community. I am so honored to be a part of this amazing day as we honor a staple in our community and carry on the legacy of the great Roy Selmon. Thank you so much. Go Bulls.
So looking around the crowd, it's a big crowd, there are a lot of people, but I think Representative Petrus Driscoll is here as well. There she is in the back. Thank you for coming, Representative. Appreciate it. As you may remember, Leroy was pretty good on the football field. Something about being the NFL's, first pick in the draft, inducted into the Hall of Fame, made the first member of the Buccaneers Ring of Honor. And to speak to this side of his life, I want to ask Mr. Brian Ford, Chief Operating Officer of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, to come up and say a few words.
Well, good morning, and thank you, Joe. I speak at a lot of these functions, and everybody sees me in red, but today I had to get the orange out, fucking Bruce. So, thank you, Honorable Mayor. Thank you for the facts. I would have loved to have met your father. Big Buck fans. Abby, we got to talk later about your family and Buck fans. Distinguished guests, Kleber, Randy, Chris, Leroy Jr., Chester, Dewey, Leroy family. I'd like to first thank the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway Authority, Susan and Joe, for this unbelievable opportunity and just for this day. You can see by everybody that's here what Leroy meant to this community. Joe is correct, and the mayor, you rattle off some of the facts that I was going to talk about as far as football and his legacy. Football is what brought Leroy and Kleber to Tampa, and he was one of the greatest players in all of collegiate sports, and definitely as a Buccaneer. At Oklahoma, he was an All-American. He won the Outland and Lombardi trophies, and he was our first pick in 1976. And he played 9 seasons for us, wearing number 63. And he's still our career sack leader, with 78.5 career sacks. That's a long time. He still holds that record. He was the NFL Defensive Player of the Year in 1979. It was the 4th season of our franchise. And back then there wasn't free agency. And he and his teammates, Doug Williams and Coach McKay, got us probably within a play of being a Super Bowl team in that year, in 1979. Through his career with us, 6 Pro Bowls, 3 All-Pro nominations, and yes, he was elected to the NFL All-Decade Team for the 80s. And in 1986, we retired 63. It was the first time our franchise retired a number, and rightfully so. He was the first Buccaneer to get elected in Canton, Ohio, into the National Football Hall of Fame in 1995. And when we decided to start our Ring of Honor at Raymond James Stadium, he was the first player inducted in 2009. And I had the unbelievable honor, and Joe, I'm going to choke up, to make that call and to work with Claiborne and his family to make all that happen. But put all that aside, that's not why we're here today, and that wasn't the biggest mark that Leroy left in our community. You've heard through the speakers before me, and quite certain from those that will follow me. Leroy was one of the first people that I met when I came to Tampa in 1998. And he welcomed me, and he's had an impact on me and my family since. So I'm humbled and honored to be here today talking about this. He was truly an ambassador, not only for our franchise, but for our community. And, you know, you've heard from the business side in his banking career after football. You're right, there's not many players that have a career like that, but it didn't stop there. And he was a community leader, and where I met him was on the Tampa Sports Authority board. And he taught me a lot about Tampa, the community, and what sports meant in Tampa and what it should mean. And then his days at USF and bringing football to the University of South Florida. Just unbelievable. There's so many words that all of us could stand here today and describe him. Leader, athlete, ethical. But I was more impactful by father, husband, and friend. Simply put, I think Leroy was the ultimate role model for all of us. So thank you for this opportunity. You got me started. Thank you.
I don't mind taking credit for that, Brian. And last but not least, we need to remember that Leroy was also a savvy businessman. So I'd like to introduce to you the Marketing and Public Relations Director of MVP Holdings, which was the parent company that had Roy Selmon's restaurants under their wing. So please help me welcome Jennifer Ullman. Jennifer.
Thank you, Joe. Good morning. On behalf of my owners, Bob Basham and Chris Sullivan, I am honored to be here. Bob and Chris are in the West Coast and ask that I share a story and also send their best to the entire Selman family. I know we've all talked about Leroy's impact in this community, but I'm here this morning to talk about his impact in our company. In all of the years that we worked with Leroy, sorry, now you guys got me going. We remember him always taking the time to make every one of us feel special. It didn't matter who you were, whether it was one of our back-of-the-house team members, a patron, any of us in the office. He took the time and made everyone feel special. His impact and involvement within our company and the way he made people feel is exactly the reason we are here today. To us, we always knew it honestly wasn't about the food, it wasn't about the atmosphere, it was always about him and who he was and what he represented. And that's what Bob and Chris and our entire team loved about working with him most. This park represents and reminds us of the great man that he was and always will be, and how he loved the city and everyone in it. Thank you.
So, I just noticed another dignitary, Representative Jamie Grant, back here. You can't hide. I saw you. Thank you for coming, sir. So, what a wonderful day. He's been going for years. He still makes us cry. I don't know if I can think of a better tribute to what someone meant to us so much. So, again, back on task. So before we complete today's ceremony, I'd be remiss if I didn't think of the staff who helped design, plan, build, and construct the facility out there. You have Bob Fry and Christina Copper here, former employee Marty Stone. On our construction and operations side, we have David May, assisted by consultants, HNTV. See Jim Drapp in the back there. I guess Terry couldn't make it today. So it was a real team effort, and they deserve a lot of credit for getting the job done. Now I'm going to ask the speakers and the family and the media to head out across the street to the park to get ready for the event. I'd like to give them a little head start, and so while we're headed that way, I'm going to ask Frederick Black to come up and talk about some other options you have to watch the ceremony. You don't need to be out there necessarily if the heat's not good for you, or if the sun can be a problem for you, like for some people here. So you'll have options. Frederick, go ahead.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, and warmest wishes from the Tampa Hillsborough Expressway